Apparently, Kyrie Irving wants to be traded again, right? I mean, talk about a complete miss, right? Talk about a complete miss. Why didn't Kyrie Irving do this on February 2nd? It would have been Groundhog's Day again. But in the least surprising news of all time, Kyrie Irving not down with the plan, which is interesting because, hey, 2 weeks ago, he talked about how much better everything was and how everybody's all in and kumbaya. And what happened? What happened? My guess is the Lakers happened. That's my guess. It's the only thing I can think of. You know, think of the things that have happened, right? Lakers haven't pulled off a big trade, still maintain their trade assets, whatever you think of them. Rumors of them wanting to move off Patrick Beverley. Pat Bev and Russell Westbrook both come off the cap at the end of the year. They happen to go through New York, and then days after going through New York, less than a week before the trade deadline, he requests a trade. Has to be, right? Has to be. And this is just days removed, like 2 days removed from one of the worst pummelings in the history of the NBA. What took place, like, again, I don't know if people paid attention because it's just the regular season, and it was just like just a random Wednesday night. But the Boston Celtics were up 46-16 on the Brooklyn Nets at the end of the first quarter the other night. 46-16. 46-16. I mean, it is absolutely insane how badly they were beaten and how that must have felt. You know, by the way, Jason Tatum single-handedly outscored the Nets in that first quarter. He had 18, and the Nets had 16. That one's crazy. But this is what happens in the NBA. Guys find a way to be unhappy, find a way to get out. That stuff is nuts. What do you think there, Dan Byer, of what would the market even be like for a Kyrie Irving in the last year of his deal?
Oh gosh. It is interesting because if you are a team that's interested in him, it is such a short span. So if you were a team that was looking to make a move and we're like, all right, we're all in for this season, then there's really no risk. Like you mentioned the Lakers off the top, which I think is a very astute observation. With that would be one of the few teams where they would be like, all right, what can we do long term with Kyrie? But I do think there would be value if you did bring him in just for these, doing the math in my head, 4 or 5 months if you were looking to make a playoff push. But if you want to risk, the amount that it would take to get him, that's the other question. I wouldn't be able to put it wouldn't be a Rudy Gobert sort of deal of 4 first-round picks and then actual decent players as part of that deal. But it may be worth it for a team that is willing to be like, all right, we have no intention of signing Kyrie to a long-term deal after this, but we feel like maybe we need this, lift up this spark for a stretch run.
Okay, but let's look at those teams that would be. Let's see here. Let's look at those teams. Okay,
I have zero in mind, by the way.
I know. Yeah. But this is where you and I agree in how we look at the world of sports for the most part, right? Which is we don't deal with the you did okay. It's like the trading of Aaron Rodgers. I heard Cowherd talk about Rodgers to the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins have bad cap situation. They don't have the ability to bring in all that money. It's just not there. And by the way, why would the Green Bay Packers just give away Aaron Rodgers without draft picks and then players? because they're going to take a massive cap hit if they were to deal him as well. Anyway, so the point is that you and I deal with reality. Okay, so in the East, Cleveland, no. Brooklyn, obviously, we're talking about. 76ers, Bucks, Celtics. Knicks have a point guard. Hawks, no. And I know there'll be people who go like, wait a second, hold on. There's talk of them trying to go ahead and maybe move Trae Young. Yeah, okay, just so you're aware of how things actually work. Sean Marks is a Spurs guy. Landry Fields is a Spurs guy. The last thing that Landry Fields, who's a first-time GM in Atlanta, wants is Kyrie Irving. And case in point, Sean Marks would never do that to him. Wizards, you can send him to the Wizards. I don't know why they'd want him. Bulls, maybe, but, I mean, what's the point? They're not good. And they already have other point guards that they probably like as well or better. Pacers, Raptors, like none of that. Maybe they send him to Toronto. Like, I don't know, to get OG. I don't know. Boy. So nobody in the East makes sense. Right? Nuggets don't want him, don't need him. Grizzlies don't want him, don't need him. Kings don't want him, don't need him. Mavericks don't want him, don't need him. Clippers need a point guard. Need a point guard. And, oh yeah, by the way, the coach of the Clippers was his coach when he won an NBA title. That's an interesting one. Timberwolves, don't see it happen. Okay. Suns, they need a point guard. They may be ready to move on from Chris Paul, but I can only tell you that one seems far-fetched with a new owner and all new thoughts. Utah, no. Golden State, no. Pelicans, no. Trailblazers, no. Lakers, maybe. Thunder, Spurs, Rockets. Doesn't make any sense. They'd rather be bad than be good. So it's really like, would the Clippers be interested, and would the Lakers do it? And it feels like the only team that would really be willing to change their culture, to give it a shot, would be the Lakers. It's like a one-team deal. That's the harsh reality of Kyrie Irving. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not sure there's a guy who's, even with all the new young guards, there might not be a guy as talented as him. But they're not going to give him away for free. And he completely upsets any apple cart, So, yeah, I don't really see it. Go ahead, Dan.
There's also this other part of it that I think is legitimate, in that this is Kyrie saying, I will have the last laugh in all of this. Meaning, all right, you suspended me earlier this season. You didn't allow me to play in home games last year. You couldn't get a deal done this offseason. Now I say that I want to stay with you, and you put in things in this contract offer that would take away guaranteed money from me. All right, this is what I'm going to do. You're in a playoff push right now. You need me more than any other team in the NBA, probably including the Lakers. I'm out. I am out. And you know what? Not only will I not re-sign with you next year, who knows what these next 2 months could entail. Like, there's that side of it that I also think that Kyrie is just like, all right, guess what? I've already got a title. You want to talk about, lasting legacy? Mine's Game 7, 2016 NBA Finals, 3 to give the Cavs the lead in the title. Like, all of this stuff that may be important to Kevin Durant or may be important to the Nets organization probably isn't important to Kyrie. And it may be his opportunity to be like, you know what? I'm just going to stick it to you for all the times that I felt you've stuck it to me over these last 2 years.
Bobby Marks tweets, Kyrie Irving is extension eligible up to June 30th with Brooklyn. If he is traded and amends the 15% trade bonus, he is not allowed to extend with his new team. The maximum extension is 2 years, $78.6 million with a new team. But if Brooklyn pays him the trade kicker, so the whole thing is confusing and fascinating all at the same time.
I think the Seinfeld spite angle is legit. Kyrie's doing this out of spite.
But what is he so spiteful for?
Everything had just laid out.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, like, I don't know.
Like, would you put it past him to be like, and again, what this is that this contract negotiation, because it was a week or two where we had heard Kyrie and the Nets are in talks on a long-term extension. So now Kyrie, we're thinking like, all right, Kyrie's back in good graces. Things are good in Brooklyn. They're actually doing a lot better than I thought they would this season. They're only, 5 games back of the Celtics in the East, sitting in the 4th spot. Of him being like, wait a sec, this is the offer that you gave us? Like, I'm Kyrie Irving. And now you want these stipulations of whatever they may be. Who knows if they're playing or if they're social media or whatever it is. But, this may be his final straw with all of this. And then his way of being like, all right, we'll play. If you want to play it that way, we'll play it that way.
Jay Stu, what do you think, bud?
So I'm going to let you guys handle all the trade details and whatnot, and all that. I'm not good at that.
How
stuff.
many lottery protected picks would you include, Jason?
I mean, I think the important thing is the cap.
Yeah, the cap is what I would jump in on.
Bring in the capologist on this one. But no, in general, it interests me every time Kyrie wants something because it typically goes against the grain. As Doug pointed out, there was some language last week about a new contract. I had said earlier that I was thinking the last couple of months that Kyrie has been strangely quiet. And by quiet, I mean not saying disruptive things or being a distraction. Like, he's just been kind of a good teammate and a good basketball player. And since the whole anti-Semitism drama that he stirred up in October. But and then this. So next week's going to be interesting, guys. We're going to have this Kyrie Irving drama going up to the deadline. LeBron James is going to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record, and we don't know if Kareem Abdul-Jabbar even cares or wants to know. And then we got a Super Bowl. So I think next week's going to be great, right?
Going to be awesome. Going to be super, super interesting. There's so much to it. I think how to relate this to people. You make a lot of good points, Dan, about all the things that he thinks were done wrong to him. And I think he's one of these guys that has no idea, no true feel for his own actions and how others feel about him. Make sense? Like, he only sees himself as being wrong. Kind of a martyr type of deal. Right? And just be honest, I think half the league's owners are Jewish. So you can say a lot of things. That dude ain't working for me. No thanks. But you want me to wait? You want me to pay him how much? Nah, I'm good. So that's a problem. The contract extension would be a problem. Just in terms of he's been injured a lot is a problem. But more than anything, there is just zero level of accountability. And he will turn on you in a heartbeat. Yes, John Ramos.
You always hear, and this is the first player that I've heard of really where people don't say what I'm going to say now, which is usually he's so talented and so good, they just push all that other stuff aside. 9 times out of 10, they'd be like, I'll take that guy. We'll just deal with it when it happens. But this is a one guy where he is so talented and such a very exceptional basketball player that now we're getting to the point that part is being not even thought of. Now it's what you just said, which is this baggage is just way too much for even the greatness that he brings to as a basketball player. It's quite interesting to me that's occurred, that it's starting to turn, right? Because most players, they're just yeah, we'll deal with it. The guy's so good. I mean, we'll just, we'll fix it. We'll get it done. And now it's everybody's just It's quite interesting to me that this guy is kind of turning the tide of that thought pattern.
I would agree with you. I completely agree with you.
I would also say that
Dan.
I would also say that what is different about this is there may be other situations where you're like, we're going to take a PR hit on this. Fans are not going to be happy. We're giving this guy a second chance. This has the opportunity for the guy blowing up everything that you have going in that organization and just completely being that's the other part of it, why I think it's a little different of there's always that risk that all of a sudden he may be like, you know what, I'm just done playing. I'm not going to play anymore. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
And that's what's like different about it. Like maybe you're like, okay, do we want to bring this guy because there was this incident 2 years ago? This guy got busted for this. Do we want to bring him? Is this a bad look? Sometimes we weigh the pros and cons of that, or teams do. This is a situation where like you could just completely crap out and be left with nothing. And I think that's also scary for some.
I love it. I love the storyline of it, especially. And Jay Stu is going to, I know he's thinking this. He's like, this guy's so unlikable. And it only, like, all of this hurts the NBA and shows how poorly run the NBA is. And it's poorly run because the players have dictated some of these things. We're coming off a week where everyone has bristled at all these players missing all these games, and suddenly getting healthy for like the All-Star game or some other stuff. Like, it's just, what I think the talent in the NBA is better than it's ever been. As we detailed in the podcast, your superstar is going to break the all-time scoring record, and LeBron is not flawless as a human being. Nobody is, but there's no flaws that I can point out in terms of his family life or personal life. Right? He's had no issues there, right? All of this stuff should be championed, but I mean, if you're just being honest, it's really hard to go buy a ticket for a game because you don't know who's playing. And players that are under contract sometimes, force their way out even to a situation that they help build. And then you have some of the comments that some of your best players have made, which doesn't suit well with your paying fans. This is all part of it.